15 disturbing police stories, according to Reddit. Number 15. Got a call for a disturbance in a known problem area. It turns out there was some big argument, which ended horribly. Things got very heated as one of the involved guys decides to go up a floor to his house, put on a pan of oil, then go back downstairs again, knock on the door, and throw boiling oil into the face of his adversary. Third-degree burns everywhere. Friends said the smell of cooked human was worse than he had ever smelled. How you feel about that, Stripes? You ever cook a man?
I don't think there's books for that yet.
Well, why don't you be the first to make a How to Cook a Man book?
I'm seeing a man pretty soon. Maybe I can work something out.
I'm not trying to be cooked, faggot. Number 14. Bit late to the party, but day 2 of being a police officer, a vehicle went all out of control on one of the busiest streets in the city. And a few days before Christmas, it killed 6 and injured many more. It took months to get the scenes out of my head. And the worst wasn't even the deaths. It was the people that were left behind to deal with it. Ones that had just witnessed their loved ones being run over. 19-year-old me found it really hard to deal with, but that's what I signed up for. Somebody said Glasgow? Description fits too well. That sucks that happened over there. That sucks.
Actually, I think there are books for cooking people.
You keep me posted. Number 13. Not me, but my cousin got called out to a suicide. A man had taken an overdose 3 or 4 days before and had gone to bed with his electric blanket on. Apparently, they had to pick him up out of bed. When they went to pick him up out of bed, all his insides just came out of his back. Like the whole back of him just collapsed and glooped on out, Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see just spaghetti when it just plop it into a bowl, Stripes? Somebody says it reminds me of a case where an old guy would use some sort of heating coil in the tub to keep the water hot while he relaxed. Unfortunately, he ended up having a heart attack, and it slow cooked him for several days. When they tried to lift his body out of the tub by the legs, they just popped right off. How do I know this really happened? Well, don't ever go to rotten.com without knowing what you're getting into. Flashback to 1998. Who the hell is talking about rotten.com for real? Anyway, what number is this? What number?
What, is that a shock site I should know about?
It was like the initial shock site on the internet that was showing, like, not safe for work stuff of the gore variety. So we're on number 12. You believe in yourself? I have been in LE for a long time. What the hell is LE? Law enforcement. Good one, Kyle. I have dealt with some of the worst people in our society you can imagine, and I have had the pleasure of coming across some of the nicest, most giving people as well. What you are going to read below may not be the worst thing you have ever read, but for me, it is what sticks out in my head most. What gives me nightmares on a regular basis. To talk about this helps for a bit. So when I see these questions pop up, I like to share this story. I should have just skipped all of that. Fucking madman. A family of five that burnt to death in their SUV. They were traveling down the interstate when a vehicle going the opposite direction crossed the median, T-boning them, which smashed them into the car that was on their right side as they were passing. This caused their vehicle to engulf in flames. Is that right? Or would it be this caused their vehicle to become engulfed in flames?
I think become engulfed sounds better.
Should I be checking these people, or should I just be reading the stories? No way out except the back hatch, as their left doors were crushed from the guy who crossed the median, and their right side was crushed from the car they were trying to pass. The driver, the dad, died on impact. The mom died from smoke inhalation. Would most likely have had she been able to get out. She would most have likely lived if she had been able to get out. Oldest daughter and youngest daughter were found in the hatch area of the SUV with the oldest daughter's hand on the release. Both daughters died from smoke inhalation. Mom was found as if she had just aided in getting the youngest daughter in the hatch area of the SUV. Son sitting up front died from smoke inhalation, but most likely would have died anyway due to the blunt force trauma/burns. This may not be the most screwed up thing that I have had to deal with, but it is for sure the most traumatizing thing that I hopefully never have to see again. I was really messed up for a while after that, and this family was on their way to the local university to see their son that they hadn't seen in months. They were 2 miles from their exit. I volunteered to go with chaplain and give the notice. I volunteered to go with, like the priest to give the notice. That's somebody's whole family dead, son.
Yeah, his son must
coming to see them.
Like
Shit.
it isn't his fault, but he still must be.
But they wouldn't. But in his
guilt.
mind, he's gonna be thinking they wouldn't be out there if it weren't for me. I know. Once somebody got into a car wreck, coming to pick me up for church, and all I could think was, if I wasn't going, it wouldn't happen.
Were they all right?
They're fine, but doesn't change it. I'm sure people die all the time on their way to someone or on their way back from someone. And they think if I hadn't been involved, it wouldn't have went down like that. This guy says, folks, your life or family's life can be over in the blink of a second. What? Are you on television and you can't say blink of an eye? Don't you hate that on TV sometime where they say like some bullshit phrase when the real phrase is not the way that it normally goes? Yeah, I'm playing around over here. No matter the fight, etc. Always let them know you love them. Hug them, kiss them, embrace them. I've seen it too much. You just never know when that might be the last time that you see them. Don't take anything for granted. Number 11, firefighter here. Working with law enforcement, we got called for a suicide attempt. We had a 6'1" Russian woman in amazing shape that got hammered drunk and cut her left arm to shreds. We try to hold her down, but she is crazy strong and super flexible. So I'm holding that bleeding left arm and my fingers slide into the open cuts of her arm. I have gloves on, but Jesus, is it creepy. And she twists her arm around to try to get free. She starts screaming, "My victory will be glorious," and cackling like some kind of satanic animal. So I'm struggling to get this arm tied down, and suddenly she just stops, looks me dead in the face and says, "Where did you get those green eyes?" At this point, she is on a stretcher with 6 to 8 cops and firefighters holding her down. Some of the cops don't have gloves on, so they don't want to mess with that bloody left arm. She slowly overcomes my strength and in slow motion reaches for my zipper of my pants. I can't stop her, and my hands are covered in blood. She manages to unzip them, but I have my ass up against the wall of the ambulance, so she can only get the tips of her fingers in my pants as she's straining to reach inside. We finally did get her tied down, but Jesus, it's one of the most memorable calls I've ever had. Cops said the same. I've gone on stuff way worse than this, but this one always sticks out in my mind. My fingers twisted around the inside of some lady's arm and almost losing your dick because of them green eyes, baby.
Wait, you think... I don't know if she was trying to molest him or take his dick. I can't honestly tell.
If she was that drunk, you don't know what she wanted. But I like the idea of how dominating, or how in charge she can be.
She's insane and she might tear your dick off too, but okay, whatever you're into.
Number 10. My father, a policeman, and stepmother, scene of the crime officer, both attended the lorry full of dead Chinese immigrants. Oh my God. What? The bodies of 58 people have been found in the back of a truck. What? The driver of the Dutch registered lorry, which arrived in Zeeburg, Belgium just before midnight, has been arrested. The 54 men and 4 women are thought to have been illegal immigrants, and reports suggest that they are of Chinese origin. 2 survivors, both men, have been taken to the hospital. Home Secretary Strauss said he was appalled by the loss of human life caused by what he called the evil trade in trafficking. It was all trafficking? Oh my God. 60 people dead, essentially, Stripes? What the fuck? Stuffed in with a load of tomatoes, the vegetables decaying and poisoned. All but 2 immigrants with carbon monoxide.
That's fucked.
Oh my God, they were immigrating in there and died in the back of a poorly ventilated truck, Stripes. As vegetables decayed, releasing carbon monoxide that poisoned and killed all but 2 of them.
Well, for one, why would the back of a van that was used for storing food be ventilated?
You mean wouldn't?
It wouldn't be ventilated.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because that would rot the food faster.
I guess. I don't know. Why these people do? Mike, they didn't think about this. God. My stepmother had to go through the truck, sweeping for crumbs of DNA or fingerprints without disturbing the bodies that were still in there, so that they could get evidence. It traumatized her so badly that she never really worked again and still suffers the area effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. My dad did another 10 years in the service, but still states it was the most horrendous thing he witnessed. The tomatoes and the carbon monoxide, I had no idea. Somebody said there's another recent story about families dying from potatoes, I think.
Potatoes? The same reason, carbon monoxide.
The dad went down to the cellar, passed out, and died. Mom went down to check on him, passed out, also died. Mother-in-law went down because she was getting worried, passed out, and died. I think one of the kids went down, but since the mother-in-law left the door open, the fumes dissipated enough to not kill. No, wait, the brother died too. Oh my God. Potatoes. Potatoes.
And molasses.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. That's not cool, Stripes. I mean, Kyle. I'm not making a joke.
I didn't know vegetables could kill you that way.
I can't believe this. They're fucking, I can't believe what's going on with the fucking, they're killing us. They're killing us. Somebody tell Trump so we can wage war against these damn fruits.
Aren't you glad you don't subscribe to the vegetable relief?
Number 9, Stripes. Not me, but my dad has been an officer for 18 years. 3 years ago, he worked a case where a boyfriend had beaten a 2-year-old near to death. Okay? A 2-year-old. My dad was first to the house and sat there with the baby, and it died a few minutes before the ambulance got... It died a few minutes before the ambulance got there. My dad took a short leave after that one. My God. Well, Here we are. Number 9, Stripes.
8.
What?
Number 8.
What did I say?
You said 9.
I said 9 already?
Yeah.
Oh, the battery has died.
The battery to what?
My little mouse. Takes AAA batteries, they died.
What about the mouse that's built into the laptop?
That's what I'm using right now. I'm such a problem solver, aren't I, Stripes?
I'm proud.
I'm such a problem solver.
But how are you gonna get through this?
I'll find a way. I have a decapitation that I need to keep on schedule for. I'm kidding. I don't know why I'm trying to creep up the... It's already a pretty bad list as it is. Number 8. We responded to a car wreck in which an SUV had run off the road and into a ditch at high speed, causing the vehicle to flip end over end several times. You want to put some punctuation in this thing you wrote, you asshole? There was a family of 4 in the car. The father, the driver, was unbelted and was ejected through the windshield, after which the vehicle landed on him before continuing to flip. He was dead on the scene when we arrived. The mother was in the passenger seat and she was belted, but the belt somehow malfunctioned, we think, and she was thrown forward far enough, or the windshield was pushed back far enough, for her head to hit the windshield and put a hole in it. She was alive when we arrived, but barely. The vehicle was severely mangled, and we were unable to extricate her quickly. We had to work a trauma code on her while she was still in the seat, intubation, IV lines, etc. By the time the rescue squad could get to the vehicle, access to remove her, she had been without a pulse for nearly 10 minutes. The second arriving unit continued CPR on her, doing transport to the ER, but she was declared dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The back seat contained 2 children. My recollection is there was a girl of about 12 years of age and a boy who was about 8. They were both properly restrained, and other than the obvious scrapes and bruises, neither appeared seriously injured. Their vitals were in good shape, and other than being in shock, they seemed to have appropriate levels of consciousness. Because of the difficulty of getting into the vehicle, they were trapped, but they could see all of our efforts to resuscitate their mother. Because of her condition compared to theirs, the main effort of extrication was to get the mother out first. The children were safely removed a bit after she had been removed and transported. They were taken to the same ER as the mother. We transported the girl in the ambulance. Once back at the ER, the 2 children were thoroughly checked by the physicians and radiology for any internal injuries or anything we may have missed. Neither had anything significant. What stuck with me the most was that I saw and learned as we were restocking our unit to go back to the road. One of the cops had let us know that the family was from out of town, several hours away, and had been on vacation. The closest family could not get down to be with the children for at least 2 hours. Soon after learning that, I was leaving the ER and I looked into the room where the children had been put after their trip to radiology. They were both on the same bed, and the girl had her arms wrapped around her little brother. Both had 1,000-yard stares. I don't know if or how anyone had told them about their parents, but you could tell by the looks on their faces that they knew. I'll never forget that day. I often wonder how those kids turned out and how difficult.
I can't imagine losing a parent that at the age or even now, to be honest. It's something I don't want to think about.
That's the way life goes sometimes,
But
I guess.
at least you can say they have each other, right?
Number 7. He was the first responder to a grisly accident where a young girl speeding had struck 4 girls and flung them very far. 2 of the girls were dead on arrival. He saw that my sister was one of the girls hit. My sister survived, but was badly injured. He was on the force for 25 years and saw a lot of gruesome shit, but he still says that was the worst day he had in his career. Number 7. Or was it 6?
6. I mean, you're this close, you can probably count from here.
Number 6. My mother was a police officer in the UK in the 80s, but was forced to retire after she broke her back in an accident. Or, don't go there, Kyle. She once told me that a time she had to investigate a domestic disturbance. A couple had gotten into an argument, and when the police arrived, the husband was lying in the hallway moaning with a screwdriver sticking out of his ear. Oh. Turns out the wife had discovered he was cheating, stabbing him in the ear with a screwdriver, and subsequently tried to scramble his brains with it. Was it electric?
Probably not.
Yeah, let's hope that it wasn't. Screwdriver in the fucking ear. God damn.
I don't think she can break through a skull with that, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know a scorned woman.
Girl, you really don't understand the canals in our noses and ears, do you? That's like direct access in there. What are you talking about, skull? Fuck all that.
Does that mean earwigs can't eat to my brains?
Number 6. Or is it 7? 5, 4.
5.
2. It really is 5. God damn it. I don't know my numbers now. He was driving me to the airport and started telling me about a suicide he had to attend. He used to do this on the early morning drives when you couldn't escape. It was a local farmer, and the guy shot himself in the head with a shotgun. This in itself didn't get to him. He had seen lots of death and suicides and was able to detach. But as he was examining the scene, he noticed almost 2 cigarette packs worth of butts, and on the ground besides where the guy was. He started to think about the man sitting there in the shed for hours with the gun, smoking, and thinking about killing himself, and couldn't get the image out of his head. He became fixated on those final moments and how low the guy must have felt, and ended up thinking about it all the time. He eventually had to go to counseling because he was randomly crying and starting to get really depressed. Aww. Sometimes you just have to talk about it. Sometimes you just gotta talk about it. You know, it's a really interesting thought, Stripes.
And what's that?
You know, one of the things that really pissed me off are some of the women that, use suicide as something for attention. It's not just a female thing. Obviously, boys do it as well. But, in my experience, it's been a lot of girls who've been throwing around suicide as something to establish attention. And hilariously, when people really want to commit suicide, Stripes, it is such a detachment from anything that they give a fuck about. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. They don't need anyone's attention. If it's anything that they really want to get to anybody, they'll leave a note because they've already made up their mind and they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And I have to wonder, if the internet If, like one laugh, if one silly video, if one distraction, if one television show isn't the only thing keeping certain people from taking their own lives, because they feel like they got nothing else going on, And what's funny is they probably have more going on than some of the people who genuinely have nothing going on, that like harass other people and are miserable and try to make other people as miserable, or live, through their children or through other people, constantly judging, living these lives like they gotta fight battles that aren't their own. You know what I mean?
I do. I like it really is it's something you have to do. You have to find an outlet if you feel like there really isn't there anything for you.
Sometimes when it comes to suicidal people, there's no outlet that's going to get the job done, as terrible as it is to say, because it's easy to say, oh, find an outlet that's not going to hurt other people, and even more so, try to find an outlet that's not going to hurt yourself. Don't shoot up, don't inject, don't snort, don't drink, smoke weed, nigga, but don't smoke that other shit that's gonna fuck up your lungs. You know what I'm talking about? But those are the best outlets for some people, because it's taking you out of yourself. You taking these pills, you're injecting, you're getting drunk, you are not yourself anymore. You can black the fuck out, even though you're conscious, and not be who you are or where you are for a long amount of time. So those outlets, even though they're the most detrimental to one's health, in some cases are the best, because what these people are looking for flat out is an escape, right? But the other outlets don't work so well, so they find themselves in this position where it's like, what else is there?
I understand the concept of escapism, and I think there's some outlets that don't involve hurting yourself in that way. Well, like, there's people that really involve themselves in like fantasy communities, and I guess it's a really nerdy thing to do, but it does help.
Everybody needs something to belong to. But what works for some and what works for most sure as hell does not work for all. And that's the sadness. Number 4. Suicide in progress. Man cut his throat and both forearms, and he was bleeding a lot, but walking around and talking to us. The cuts were all deep, but he survived. Not sure if I'll get those images out of my head. He cut his throat and was still walking around. Boy. Number 3. Worst scene I ever worked was when a guy roughly 6'4", 280 pounds, raped and killed a 2-year-old girl by simply throwing her into a wall in the home, nearly through the wall. He then proceeded to go out back in a small shed and blow his head off with a shotgun. The atmosphere created by the scene hardly seemed real, having the scene of pure innocence destroyed inside the house, and the grisly mess of the shed outside was weird. Just seemed like a movie. Number 2. Got a call for a missing child. Got to the home to find the mother highly distressed and not sure what to do. I called in everyone to first search the home and property, and I decided to search the backyard since it was a large wooded lot with no visible fence. After about 10 minutes, I found the boy. He was caught on an old chain link fence in the woods. that was blocked by a bunch of trees, so you couldn't see it from the house. He had basically gotten strangled to death on the fence. He must have been climbing it and got his hooded sweatshirt caught in it. The worst part for me was having to call it in on the radio, knowing the mother might hear it inside from one of the other officers' radio. Somebody said that was almost me. I was playing as a child and swinging on a blind cord while the parents weren't watching, and it got caught around my neck. If my cousin wasn't there to go tell my dad, and my dad didn't know how to do CPR, I would have died. Whoa. Number one.
I didn't know you could strangle yourself with a sweater.
You can strangle a person with anything that can wrap around the throat, Shreyes. Anything. One more. For one, I was called out to a burglary in progress in someone's house. It was their neighbors that called because they heard screaming and banging. When I got there with everyone else, we entered and swept the house. There was stuff everywhere on the floor, so we knew someone struggled. We heard screaming coming from up the stairs, and when we got there, the guy was raping the woman who lived in the house. He got 12 years for that day. Wow. He got 12 years for that, and it horrifies him to this day.
He was caught in the act of it.
Wow. Well, goddamn. He only gets 12 years for breaking and entering, burglary, and force and rape. That's America, baby. That is America. You know they tried to put me away for 60 years?
I didn't know about that.
For something that I didn't do. Well, it's because, I'm not the whitest of men, Stripes.
I get the details of those from bits and pieces, and I guess that's another bit I get.
12 years for rape, breaking and entering and rape. And the cops caught him in the act, though. Hold on, police officer. I'm getting it in with this bitch. What the fuck? 12 years stripes. What the fuck? They put people away for weed for longer, dude.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Do you think that this country is fighting for anything harder than keeping marijuana illegal? Dude, they making that money off of that crap, son.
I figured it was a 5-year offense, but I never really look into laws. So
you don't know shit about any of that. You really don't. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You wonder why people depressed out in these streets. Some people have the veil pulled off of their faces at a young age, and they have to live their lives. When in reality, the easier thing to do would be to just not. So to anybody listening to this, using this video as a distraction, it'll get better. People are willing to be there for you, if not now, eventually. I think you should try to seek comfort in the realization that there are plenty of others just like you. And whatever it is that you're seeking, whether it be success or happiness in whatever specific field that you wanna be doing well in, or to feel content, to feel proud, to have other people feel proud of you, you just need to realize you got to take everything a step at a time. Don't live your life chasing the wrong rabbits, so to speak, because some of them rabbits ain't meant to be caught. Some of them rabbits aren't even real, And some of them rabbits, if you were to catch them, you'd realize that you were not interested to begin with. Some of them only look good while they're running, if you know what I mean. But I wish you all the best, and I'll be here, at least until something takes me away, just like